Hey guys, how's it going? Octopus here and welcome back to Union Cross. Stained glass metals are coming to global. We finally got the Twitter announcement for Terra stained glass, which is stained glass number 7. I made a whole video on this if you guys want to check it already. I basically compare stained glass to everything else, but there is 2 more stained glasses coming out after this one, which is a magic and speed version, which is number 8 and 9, and they're both Soras. So I'm going to talk about which one's best, if you guys should go for it, or if you should totally skip out. In my honest opinion, start off the video, you don't have to go too far deep into this. They're 30,000 jewels, and I believe no metal is worth that much unless they are game breaking. They've got to be game breaking or at least game changing to be worthy of past 5 mercy pull. A 10 mercy pull, we've been getting plenty of banners like this. It's been too heavy and too frequent. So stained glass metals, they're going to have their place. I'm going to show you guys exactly where they belong and where they shine. But in all honesty, if you're new, if you're a veteran, if you're free to play especially, I would skip out on these. That's just my opinion, and if anyone ever asks me in my streams or anywhere else, that's what I'm going to tell you. But I will show you the value that they do have, because they're not bad metals in any way. They're just not next level. So you can skip on these very, very easily and not worry about it at all. So we're going to start the video with a really shitty looking screen for some reason, but we're gonna start the video showing you guys what's already out in JP and what we should expect this Friday or next Monday. So a little bit of patience will get you into the next place, and if you're a Final Fantasy 7 fan, you're gonna love this next place. So like I said, Terra, the Sora medals from stained glass, but here's what's coming out. A 5 mercy pull for Prime Kingdom Hearts Cloud. Just giving you guys a heads up, it's just like the Riku versus Roxas but upright power version, and then a new meta, basically something called Supernova. It's called Super Burst in JP, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Supernova because Transfer Burst in our game was Nova. This just has a super on it, so Supernova. Sephiroth is not a mercy pull, but it is part of Cloud's banner. So Cloud's a 5 mercy for a 7-star Cloud, and you're guaranteed one every pull as a 6-star in the JP version. And if you're lucky along the way, you will get this beautiful looking medal. So that's what you guys have to look forward to if you want to save your jewels. Great single target medal, 35.90, and you got Sephiroth being at a 47.39 single target and 31 AoE. So that's coming, heads up. And like I said, these medals are good, but it just gets better and better from here, and we already see what's coming up next. So with that out of the way, let's start looking at Terra. Now, I did make a whole video on this, but they're all exactly the same. They've got a max multiplier of 32.50 for AoE. That's no single target, it's just AoE constantly 32.50 as long as these medals are in the first 2 to 3 slots. It'll move a little bit more at 3rd slot, but the 1st slot and 2nd slot, you'll see the maximum damage out of this medal. 3rd slot won't be that far off. So, power version, magic version, speed version. What do? They do everything except for their opposite colors. So, Terra's a power, which is red. As you can see, it only buffs red strength and debuffs red power enemies defense. So I'm gonna stop using colors because it's weird. And then of course the new Sora number 8 is gonna be just for magic, and number 9, which is another Sora, is gonna be for speed. So they do everything, including your power, your upright, your reverse, your upright. I'm doing great right now, ain't I, guys? For up and down, 110% guilt, which when you compare it to Kairi EX and Xion EX Plus, that is a 30% difference. That is huge. That is very, very huge. 30% is a big thing. 10% is not that big when you compare it to HD era. 10% is something, but just not as much as a 30 to 40% increase. So keep that in consideration. They have one of the best ones, and all of this carries over for 2 turns, but all these abilities are overwrite. And I've been warning you guys for a very long time now, if they raise the buff cap and you have too many medals that are overwrite, you're going to run into an issue. But these medals are incredible for multiple reasons. So besides all the buffs and debuffs in the game except for opposite attributes, we are looking at a medal that resets the enemy's countdown. Now there is only one other medal in the game that does that, and that is Sora and Kairi, a tier 7 medal, I believe. This one right here is the only one that actually has that resets enemies countdown. Now, why is this so important? It's really important because if an enemy has too many counters and you have no way to restore those counters, or if you're just skipping counters every turn because of prime medals, demics, medals that say do not affect the enemy's counters, you're not raising those counters. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys don't have a full keyblade of prime medals. So a lot of medals are doing 4 hits here, 2 hits here, 11 hits here and there. You kicking one of these stained glass medals, and you're not only putting all the buffs and debuffs, having one of the best AoE medals in the game, but you're also resetting that enemy's countdown. And you're going to see that later on. I think it's going to be more common in every medal, not just resetting enemies countdown, but also raising the enemy's countdown or completely ignoring it. But a lot of enemies from this point forward are going to become more and more frequent with counters above their heads. And we've been seeing that throughout the months, and now it's very noticeable. All the organization members, Sephiroth, so on and so on, counters are very, very important. This is one of the banes of a free-to-play player. If you're not pulling for anything recently, you're kind of screwed over because of that. And also, you can't really do much when it comes to using like a Soren symbol that has 11 hits. Even resetting the enemy's counters, if the counters are too low to begin with, this can kind of hurt you. So it's a blessing, but also a curse when it comes to medals that raise the enemy's counters. When it comes back to your turn in the beginning, it'll reset it back to whatever it was, 5, 2, very low. But if you made a full Keyblade rotation without activating the enemy's countdown, that's not a big deal anyways, because you've made it through your entire Keyblade. So if you reset it, the cycle is just going to happen again. So even if you get the enemy's counter up to like plus 99 and he resets it back to 5, it doesn't really matter because your Keyblade's working. So he definitely will shine in a later slot for that reset. And it's not too bad because he goes from a 32 to a 29 damage. It's not that big off of a damage for AoE. AoE at 29 is beautiful. So you essentially don't have to use him in the beginning of your Keyblade setup unless you're really using him for all those buffs and debuffs. But if you want that to be really, really good, where an enemy starts with 5 and your first couple medals drop it down to 1, he'll reset it back to 5 to carry on for your next medals. Stuff like that. So very unique ability. Not many medals have in the game currently, so that is a plus for these 3 medals: Terra, Sora, and Sora, number 7, 8, and 9. So very unique. 2 turns, double upright and reverse buffs, so you get both of those all in one medal. PvE content wise, we have plenty of AoE medals. As you guys go through PvP, get your silver tickets, you're going to start making your tier 7s into 7 stars eventually. And in tier 7 AoE, we've got quite a bit. AoE wise, they're sitting at a really good place, 32.51. And when I'm talking about tier 7s, if you guys pulled in the past a key art number 16 EX plus, you've got a max multiplier of 32.41 just for having your max HP. So you guys got to sit there and ask yourselves, is it really worth that extra 30,000 jewels just for its damage? I would say no. It's its buff and debuffs that make the difference. So they're not sitting somewhere incredibly high, but they aren't sitting somewhere incredibly low. Now, none of these medals are true replacements for Kairi or Xion EX Plus. The difference that they are better and superior is 110% and also having a huge multiplier while buffing everything. So guaranteed damage of a beginning of a Keyblade slot while raising all your other medals by an extra 30%, which is pretty big. So foretellers, stained glass medals, if you are spending money in the game, they will change your game just a little bit. Not enough to spend 30,000 jewels, but it's not a bad purchase either way if you're okay with that amount of jewels. All right, so at this point you might be asking, so what's the point of them? They're not the strongest AoE medals. They have buffs and debuffs in the game already. They're overrated, so they might screw you over in the future, but they do have a unique reset enemies countdown, which is really good. They are 2 turns with every buff and debuff in the game except for the other attributes. So here's where they shine. We all know the obvious, which is basically the medals do more damage in the beginning instead of a buffer. But what it really shines in is that if we put a Terra here on the Fairy Stars and then we put our best attackers after this, it doesn't matter. Just because he only does power, prime medals take care of themselves. Like I grabbed this Roxas right here, guys, and you can see, boom, power and magic is taken care of for defense down and strength up. And then you can copy him or continue on with another magic, another power, copy the power, or copy your pet slot magic or power, whatever you guys want to do. And even so, other prime medals are going to be speed. They're going to buff speed. So medals take care of themselves when it comes to these. And again, that's prime medals. But what does it really truly shine that makes this medal worth it? Because again, just pop Kairi there. It's PvP. These medals are going to be actually astounding in PvP, not for their damage specifically, even though you're going to get 10 rerolls at traits, because if you do a 10 mercy pull, you're guaranteed 1 trait roll every pull. So that is pretty good when it comes to negative 60 ground chasing, extra attack, so on and so on. So they will become stronger than some single target medals that don't have traits. But for PvP, it's that unique 2-turn. All 3 stained glass medals are going to be really good for this 2-turn thing. So picture this. Let's say you use him in the beginning. He's your attacker medal with your buffer, and then you continue the rest of your Keyblade setup that works out for the perfect buffs and debuffs that you need for the other attributes, and you get all that power in there. So next turn, what happens next turn? The next turn is, let's say, a Fenrir. So Fenrir, you're going to be like, well, okay, I'm going to put a Kyrie on here with defense boost 4 max, right? That's not necessary anymore. You might need more copies of 4 maxes or 5 maxes when they come out, but now you can put pure damage medals onto this Keyblade. So when you're defending, first setup's going to have that Terra there, or stained glass number 7, and then all the damage you can do. So he can be wearing defense boost 4 max for you for that setup. And the next medal over here can wear the 6 if you want to do that strategy, or just attack boost max for everything if you want pure damage. So stained glass medals, they do have good AoE damage, but in all honesty, when it comes to compared to everything else, I would put a defense boost 4 max on him. Put him on my first Keyblade setup that works with them. Whatever stained glass medal you guys get, go for that full attack. And then the next Keyblade, whatever stained glass I used, the next Keyblade, let's say the next one is Fenrir, after we use Fairy Stars or whatever we do, then we fill this Keyblade up with just our best attacking power medal. So now we can just go crazy. Now we can be like, well, this entire Keyblade is going to be Xemnas being copied, being, let's say, Hercules here. Let's say a copy medal to copy my Xemnas, stuff like that. You just put pure attackers all the way from the beginning of the Keyblade, and that's because all those buffs carried over to the second turn. So when someone's attacking you, you're going to use a pure power force of a Keyblade, beat them first turn, and now you get to go again, and all those buffs carried over. The opponent can't do anything about it. The opponent's got full defense down, you've got full attack up, and now you're going with your strongest medal right after. You don't even have to use a foreteller or a stained glass medal on that second attacking Keyblade, and they can't touch that. And the same thing goes for attacking. On turn 2, after they finish attacking you, all you do is activate your Terra, or sorry, one of the stained glasses 7, 8, or 9, and then turn 3 you go right after, so they can't touch you again, and you have all those buffs carrying over to the next Keyblade. So even if you guys go first, looking at the buffs that they have, there's nothing in the game that can stop you from having 7 reverse strength up or upright. There's nothing that lowers the opponent's upright or reverse strength. Same thing for reverse and upright defense down. Nothing in the game buffs reverse or upright defense. So these guarantee to carry over along with your other debuffs as well. So, and that 110% also carries over. So the opponent can't touch that unless they bring in medals that race all the buffs and debuffs. So the young Xehanort, the new incredible VIP medal. So unless people start bringing in that strategy to counteract that, which probably won't happen because everyone's just trying to do the most damage, you're going to have full 2 attacks no matter whenever you use these stained glass medals. So PvP wise, top competitors will actually get a good kick out of that because their second Keyblade setup will be pure damage. Your first setup might be just a little bit weaker depending on what traits you get, but that carryover for the next turn is going to look really good having pure attack medals on an entire Keyblade. Especially, again, even if you don't do it like that and you use them as an attacking medal and then the opponent has a turn to go, they can't really buff themselves or take away that without losing damage themselves as well. So you're looking pretty good at this moment. Even your general strength is going to carry over. Kyrie EX, Kai, and Xion Kai will take away his power and bring that down to ×2, but they can't touch anything else because they can't raise their defenses. They can't lower your attack. They have pure attack medals. So it all depends where the meta changes, because that might change down the line. Future attack medals might lower an enemy's attack while doing high damage, like the foretellers. So that's a little bit different. And people who start using demics in their setups as well, yeah, that can happen, but there's true things in there that can't be touched. The upright and the reverse buffs and debuffs. So stained glass medals, that's their big niche, is that they reset enemies' counters and the 2 turns carry over for every buff and debuff you need for that attribute. So pretty good. Even if you go from something like Terra buffing only that, when your next Keyblade, let's say your next Keyblade is like all magic, a counterpoint, just bring in those prime medals. Prime Roxas versus Riku. You put them in the first slot. So we're going to do that right now. Looking over here, we have 7 magic up, 7 magic down. And if Terra's was the Keyblade before, you're going to have general strength up, general strength down. You're going to have the rest of the upright as well to ×7, and you're good to go. There's nothing stopping you from there, guys. So you can just continue on to whatever you guys want, especially if you have other prime medals. This works out really, really good. Medals that buff their own attribute. It doesn't matter what Keyblade or what stained glass you get. PvP is going to give you a little bit of kick there. It might be a little different in top PvP. People might not use this meta, but if you do want to have something different from everyone else, that's where I see these medals really shine. Multiple turns in PvE content, Xion and Kairi covers all of that already. You don't really have to worry about your buffs and debuffs carrying over because your buffer is always in the beginning of the Keyblade setup. The only thing I can see about these 2 turns in PvE is if the enemies in the future paralyze you every turn, because then you skip your buffer. But if you skip your buffer, medals that carry over for 2 turns, it doesn't really matter. Your 3rd medal will still do damage, your 4th one, your 5th one, because that times 7 strength carried over anyways. So that's the only time I would see in PvE these multi-turn buffs and debuffs would be useful. But besides that, again, better medals are just around the corner, and you can say that about everything, but stained glass medals never really hold their place. Same thing with foretellers. I believe they're going to be good for what you're doing now, but they'll never hold their place compared to what's just around the corner. And the corner is not that far away, guys. So hopefully this give you a little bit more insight. Again, I did cover this a little bit already, but I want to talk about all 3 of them and kind of what they do. The first video was kind of enough, but they are dropping tonight. And I know a lot of you guys are going to ask me, so here you go. Let me know what you think down below, if you guys are going for it or not. 30,000 jewels is no joke. Don't forget, you got to buy avatar boards still for attack boost maxes, defense boosts that might be coming out, like 5 max and all that. So you do have quite a bit of jewels from all the celebration, but those will go away pretty quick once you start going for new medals. And remember, new medals means new skills you got to apply to them if you want the best, because none of them come with 7 maxes or the future 8 maxes just around the corner because Coliseum's almost over. So remember that. You're going to have to start upgrading those skills in just a bit. So let me know what you guys think down below about the stained glass medals. Are you going for it? You're not going for it? Let me know. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit the like button. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Keep on smiling, and I'll see you in the next one.